Okay, so the constitutional provisions are public health and welfare, public safety, transportation, and education. Those are the four requirements that the state, basically spend money on. So I guess to that, our education funding is a big thing. Education Task Force met during the summer, came back with some recommendations. They are costly. There's schools out in rural Alaska that aren't well equipped and are failing for a multitude of reasons. Money's not going to be the complete answer, but it's at least gets them in the right direction. Transportation, as you can see, we had to fill the road between Steese Highway. I think they filled with like 8 feet of asphalt just to fill in and make it level. With global warming, we're probably going to have to fill it in another 5-10 years, and so that's a big concern. Public safety and public welfare are expensive things. The Medicaid budget's grown an incredible amount over the past 4 years, and still we're having people that slip through the cracks. I work in the hospital emergency room, and just anecdotal information, it seems like there's a lot of people that don't have insurance or fail to have insurance for one reason or another. Either their employer doesn't have it, or they just can't afford to take it. So I think that's a huge problem. $1 billion can go a long way. I think we need to spend it wisely, make sure it gets appropriated with some thought and not just thrown to fill holes. But I think that there's definitely a need.
I'll answer that question. Then I want to say, if you've got your hand up, I will call on somebody that hasn't asked a question yet first before I call on somebody a second time. So my answer to the question is, I look back on what the constitutional founders talked about, what Congress talked about, and what it saw when it gave Alaska the subsurface rights and the state can't take it away. The dialogue between industry and the sovereign. More and the longer I'm on this job and an observer of the politics, the answer to so many of our problems is education. Whether it's not having a petroleum economist, or whether it's the FAS model. It's having kids being ready from the entire educational process, higher educational system, through PhD is the key. Invest in education. When tourists or people outside think about Alaska, I think fields, the rivers and the mountains and the glaciers and the fish. And oh yeah, that's the place. If you send your kid to school, we live there, our kid would have gotten the best education in the state. At the end of the day, that answers more social and economic answers than anything else.
How much of a hybrid is this proposed ACES system between the two parts? And how temporary or permanent is this going to be, or is this the final thing if this is passed?
Well, in the Murkowski experience, we had a phenomenal education. These guys are probably tired of hearing it, but usually when you change a tax regime, it's a generation. It's in place for 20 years. You can't just come back and change it unless something has happened. And theoretically, the other side will want to come back and tweak it occasionally because the world of oil and gas economics changes all the time. The industry wants it changed every time that they don't like it and they want to tweak a little bit. And I don't have a problem with that. But it's also the state should have the ability to do that when it needs to also. I think one of the most important things the industry tells us is stability and a tax base that's stable. Well, I think the most unstable tax policy in the world is one that was built on corruption. And the industry is responsible for PPT, and whether people from BP and ConocoPhillips and Exxon stand there and tell me that they know, it's like Bill Allen and Vico was their tool. Bill Allen was not such a great welder that he could build his business from a welding truck to a big multinational all by himself, just because of his ability to burn a bead. So this is we're revising this because it's a creation of them, the industry. It's stabilizing this. Fortunately, this governor has come back and recognized that, and now it is a hybrid system, because there are mostly it's a net production tax, but there are some gross tax floors, and we will see it play out if it stays the way it is. If we move forward.